Congressman Cloud of Texas, thanks very much for joining the Resurgent. So, you're a relatively new member of Congress, replaced Congressman Farenthold. You represent Corpus Christi, Victoria, Texas, my favorite area of Texas.
Well, mine too. It's a lot going on there.
And so you're from Victoria.
Yes.
What led you to get into politics?
I graduated from Oral Roberts University, went to work at a church, loved what I was doing, helping people out, watching people grow and develop in life, and just doing what you can to meet the needs of people. But began to look at what was going on in our country, and I've always had a love for our country, our rich history, our unique place in the world, and felt like I needed to be involved. And so I got involved in the grassroots. All my political experience prior to this post is in grassroots volunteerism, and so was county chair in Victoria, served on the executive committee in Texas, the state executive committee, and then was asked to run and thought it was kind of crazy at first, but then you get to thinking, somebody's got to do the work, someone's got to do the job, and felt a call to service and ran for Congress.
When you got to Congress, what was your biggest shock about getting here?
I knew it'd be a new experience. So in a sense, I didn't set expectation levels in that. But one thing I remember right off the bat as I got to talk to reps was how many were discouraged, really. How many people get here with excitement and enthusiasm and just get worn down by the process. I talked for months, for years, about how Congress is broken, and you get here and you really begin to see the effects of it. And I know that's easy to say coming in new, but I just remember that was one of the things. And that's not to say everybody's walking around with their head down, but it was one of those things that I wasn't expecting necessarily to see that did catch my attention.
When you say Congress is broken, what are the sorts of things that you think of?
We're $22 trillion in debt.
The obvious one.
That's a real big one. But just the way we go about doing things. I've had a number of conversations with there's a lot of new blood here in Congress. That's one thing that does excite me, whether you're on the right or whether on the left. You realize that these processes are broken. For example, I could have 300 co-sponsors on a bill. I still can't get that to the floor. I mean, that's plenty more than you would need, votes you would need to actually pass the bill. I still can't get it to the floor unless the speaker wants it on the floor. Power is coalesced. You look from the national landscape and you think, from the voter perspective, too much power is in the control of the federal government. You become part of the federal government, so to speak, and you realize that power, even within the federal government, is coalesced around such a small group of people. And so anything we can do to get power dispersed and properly working for the people of our nation is something that needs to get attention.
What issue kind of drives you as a congressman? If there was one thing you could accomplish as a member of Congress, what would it be?
Oh my, the issues are so diverse, and to nail it down to one is really difficult. I mean, ultimately, you want to see our nation healed, restored, us reclaim the promise that our founders gave us. Certainly, the debt is huge in that $22 trillion of debt. A bill that we're working on right now is the Cost Estimates Improvement Act. And what this bill does is, when someone has the idea for a bill, it goes to the CBO, it gets scored. Congressmen look at that scoring to kind of make assessments on how to support a bill, whether they should or not, the long-term cost of a bill. But we're not even counting the debt servicing cost. So interest in our budget is about to surpass our military spending, and we're not even accounting for it. And so our bill would do two things. It would force us to begin to account for debt servicing, and whenever a bill is introduced or an idea comes out, the CBO would have to look at duplicative programs. So what are we doing? It may be a great idea, but we may already be doing it in 15 other agencies or something very similar. And so we should at least have that information available for congressmen and women as we begin to analyze these bills.
Now, the $22 trillion, it's a bipartisan issue. It wasn't just Democrats, and it hasn't just been Republicans. And
Right.
To some degree, you're in the minority of the minority in Congress, being a conservative Republican in a Democrat-controlled House. And Republicans did control the whole place for 2 years with the presidency, and yet the debt and deficit continue to go up. And I got to imagine, as a conservative who cares about this issue, there's a level of frustration with your own side.
Well, when I was running, I would often say, when it comes to fiscal issues, a lot of times the difference between Republicans and Democrats is Republicans feel bad about it. We feel bad about the spending. But the truth is we've got to prioritize. The Constitution provides us an awesome framework of limited government, and us getting back to that as closely as possible. It's not going to happen overnight. We didn't get to where we are overnight, but us begin to make those conscious steps back to fiscal restraint and responsibility from a federal perspective, and get the burden off not the generations to come. I mean, it's just it's unjust that people are being born into our nation with such a burden of debt on them.
Now, the Democratic solution here is they always say, well, we need to be willing to raise taxes. And that Republicans aren't willing to raise taxes, therefore they're not serious on the debt issue.
We can't raise taxes to get out of this. We've got to bring spending under control, and we need a thriving and a growing economy in order to have an economy that works for the people and in order to raise revenue. And so we've got to be able to look at continuing to have economic policy that grows our economy, but then bring fiscal restraint.
When we bring fiscal restraint and also grow the economy, taxes obviously are a big issue, but now we see the strain of the Democratic Party that believes more and more government needs to have a command and control of the economy for environmental solutions. And in fact, the New York Times running a story that it would cost $100+ trillion to do the Green New Deal, which Democrats seem to have no problem with. Where do you come down on the issue of, I mean, obviously you're not in favor of government control, but just on the government trying to help solve the environmental problems Democrats say there are?
Well, one thing I love about our district is we're really diverse. We're a net export district. A lot of energy is happening. The energy port of our nation is in our district, and so we're sending oil out, we're sending LNG out, we have wind power, we have a nuclear power plant in our district. I think the answer is more in innovation. And innovation's going to happen through a good economy. We've got to fund these new ideas somehow. And the idea that we can ban cows, ban airplanes, rebuild our entire infrastructure in 10 years is just, it's not realistic. And we have to begin to work toward the future, but that happens not by killing our economy and turning us into Venezuela. It happens by us continuing to our American companies produce energy far more responsibly than companies in industry across the world. And so the world's energy demands are not diminishing, they're increasing actually as nations develop and as people are brought out of poverty. And so that's a good thing. I think America can lead the way in us being an energy dominant nation. We've seen that amazing transformation over the last few years, and us becoming an energy dominant nation. That helps the problem, it doesn't hurt it.
Last question for you. 10 years from now, how would you like to look back on your legislative tenure in 10 years and say you accomplished what?
If I'm here that long, no. I'd like to be known that I served with integrity. I did my very best. I made decisions. You know, I'm not going to be perfect in the position. No one will be. You serve 700,000 people. There's no way to have agreement on every particular issue you have. But the thing you can do is approach every issue that comes up, make the best decision you can with the best information available, do it for the right reasons, and hopefully, even in disagreement, be respected for the fact that you're doing your best to serve with integrity.
Yeah, I do have to say that there should be 700,000 people in your district who can agree that Whataburger has the superior burger.
Whataburger was born in our district,
yes.
And so we are very proud of Whataburger.
I really want them in Georgia.
Well, we'll have to work on that.
Yeah. Congressman, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Sure.